The wind whispered gently through the trees as autumn leaves danced across the marble headstones. Among the quiet rows of those who had given everything stood a woman in uniform, her posture straight, but her soul breaking. Stared at the grave in front of her, her hands trembling despite her training. It had been 6 months since she lost her husband, Sergeant David Rivers, to an IED in Afghanistan. 6 months since her world lost its color. She wasn't crying. She hadn't cried in months. Maybe she couldn't anymore. But something about that morning felt different. Her heart was heavy, and her legs wobbled beneath her. She slowly knelt, placing a photo of the two of them smiling in their dress uniforms on their wedding day against the cold granite. Just then, the faint sound of small footsteps and laughter reached her ears. A boy, maybe 5 or 6, ran past chasing a maple leaf. "Liam," a voice called out, firm but kind. The boy stopped, turned, and ran back toward a tall man in a gray hoodie and jeans. He held a small bouquet of sunflowers. The man looked up and caught Emily's eyes. He hesitated, then approached carefully. "I'm sorry if he disturbed you," he said gently. "He doesn't fully understand yet. This is where we visit his mom." Emily looked at the man, blinking away her shock. She hadn't expected to meet another parent mourning a spouse, let alone a man, alone with a child. She looked at the boy again, now quietly picking a dandelion from the grass. And back at the man. "I understand," she said, her voice hoarse. "It's hard to explain to someone so young." "I'm Daniel," he said, extending his hand. "Daniel Moore, and that's Liam. Captain Emily Rivers." Daniel's eyebrows rose slightly at the title. "Thank you for your service." Emily nodded but didn't smile. It was a phrase she heard often, but it felt empty lately. She didn't feel strong, not anymore. Daniel didn't push. Instead, he offered her one of the sunflowers from his bouquet. They were her favorite. "Maybe it'll brighten your visit. Even a little." She took it, surprised at how warm such a simple gesture felt. "Thank you." It was the beginning. Emily returned the next week. So did Daniel. Again, the week after that. Slowly, without realizing it, they began to wait. For each other, they talked. Shared stories. About war. About parenting. About grief. Emily hadn't spoken about David in detail with anyone, but Daniel listened. And she, in turn, learned about Sarah, Daniel's wife, who died of cancer 2 years ago. Liam had only been 4. Grief, they found, wasn't something you got over, it was something you walked with. And sometimes it helped to have someone walking beside you. But even as their connection deepened, Emily battled demons no one saw. Her guilt over surviving when David didn't. Her insomnia. Her fear of feeling something again for anyone else. Daniel, too, struggled. He was exhausted juggling work, fatherhood, and quiet loneliness. He worried that getting close to Emily would confuse Liam, who had only begun to heal. He wasn't sure he had space in his heart to love again or if he should. One rainy afternoon, Emily didn't show up. Daniel waited in his car for nearly an hour, staring at the grave, sunflower in hand. The next week, she was still missing. On the 3rd week, he drove away with Liam, quietly asking, "Where's the soldier lady?" Daniel found himself standing at Emily's door 2 days later. He didn't know what compelled him, only that the thought of her in pain and alone unsettled him deeply. She opened the door, eyes swollen and face pale. "You shouldn't be here," she said weakly. "I had to know if you were okay." "I'm not," she admitted, voice cracking. "I haven't been okay for a long time." He didn't speak. He just opened his arms, and she collapsed into them. For the first time in months, she cried. From that day forward, things began to change. Not quickly, not dramatically, but they changed. Emily started therapy. Daniel helped babysit Liam when he needed a break. Emily slowly opened up to the child who, in return, left hand-drawn pictures of her and his dad on her doorstep. The final shift came one spring morning. Emily and Daniel stood together at David's grave. She placed her hand gently on the stone. "You would have liked him," she whispered, and I think you'd want me to live, to love again." She turned to Daniel, and took his hand. "I'm not healed," she said, "but I'm healing, and maybe we can keep walking this together." Daniel smiled, tears in his eyes. "That's all I ever wanted." Final scene. The screen fades in on a backyard barbecue. Laughter. Liam running through the grass with a toy airplane. Emily sitting on the porch watching him. Daniel brings her a plate of food, and as the sun sets, she places her hand over his. "We're not broken," she says quietly. "We're just ... a little bent, but we're still standing." And they were twoed together. Message for the audience. Grief doesn't disappear. Love lost is never forgotten. But healing is possible with patience, courage, and the unexpected kindness of others. Sometimes the path to peace begins with a single knock, and a heart willing to answer.